Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa McAllister, and you're listening to The Melissa Made Show. Now, for decades, I've dedicated myself to helping women break the cycle of dieting, navigate through all the fads, and change their lives through my nutrition coaching. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about everything from deep nutrition, mindset, self-care, the ideal workout routine, tips on how and why to implement intermittent fasting in your life, my favorite recipes that are not only crowd pleasers, but they're actually healthy for you, and so much more. Now, with small and consistent changes, you can defy aging while living a happier, healthier, and more heart-filled life. I'm so excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are so simple to adopt. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Melissa Made Show. So you guys know on my social media, I put that my 100th episode was coming out, and I asked, who do you want on the show? Got a couple celebrities. I got a couple of people that I know you want on the show, but I had casually mentioned Mick. He got a few votes, and I casually mentioned my mom. Overwhelming response. So very reluctantly, she has agreed to be on here with me, and we're going to laugh. We might cry. But this for me is just a wonderful time for me to share with you how wonderful my mom is. And I know that you think your mom or your stepmom or your foster mom or your adopted mom or your sister, your grandma, whoever raised you is probably pretty special too. And so I would love for you underneath in my Instagram, my Facebook, even on the podcast or on YouTube to share why the woman in your life is special as well. I'm biased, I know, but seriously, you're about to learn how amazing the woman is next to me. And I know you hate this. And part of me wants to do this so you guys can see how special she is, but what a wonderful memory to have of our conversation here. Many years ago, we made a video sharing about my dad's death and all my birth defects and stuff. And I still think that's on social media. And that was kind of hard to film. So this, who knows? But anyway, here we are. We could talk for 30 minutes. We could talk for 3 hours.
I don't think so.
But I do want to start off to see. You have these memories with your parents and these great conversations, but do you ever sit down and interview your parent? Probably not. Neither do I. So this is my opportunity to treat her like a guest on my show and to kind of just ask you some questions where you just go into detail for me. Starting off with, and you can always correct me if I'm wrong, which will probably be a lot, but I know that you met my dad at a very, very young age. And if I recall, didn't you try to elope with him at the age of 15?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
I was 14 when I met him, and we went to a dance together and decided that we were going to date, that we liked each other. And
you decided.
Yeah, probably. And he and I, very early on, that we wanted to spend our lives together. It sounds so silly, but we both knew. And I had somebody ask me one time, why couldn't you just keep dating? I was in high school, just enjoy high school life and keep dating. But for some reason, we just knew we wanted to be together, that we wanted to spend our lives together. And so that July, we decided to run off. I was 15 years old, and we had been told that if you go to Virginia, we were in West Virginia at the time.
Makes sense.
Yeah, West Virginia. We could get married without my parents' permission. Well, we got there, and it was Paris. I can't remember the city right now, but anyway, we got there and they said, oh, no, a lot of people think that, but that's not true. You need to go to Sparta, North Carolina. So off to Sparta, North Carolina, we went. And yeah, And we got there and they said, no, she's really way too young. She needs her parents' permission. And in the meantime, we found out from a friend that my parents had put out a warrant for his arrest
I say I didn't know that.
because he had taken off with a minor. So we came back home with our tails tucked between our legs and no wedding license. And we got out of the car and he was handcuffed and taken to jail.
See?
Yeah, that's my
How old was
parents.
he? 18?
He was 19.
Oh,
He was 4 years older than me. And my parents let him sweat it out in jail overnight, let him out the next morning. And that's when they decided that they really had enough of me trying to run away and want to be with him, but they tried really hard one more time, but we did run off again. And when I was 16. And this time when we came back unmarried, they signed the papers and said, yeah, you can have him. Good luck.
that's so cool. So you got married, and very shortly after that, had my sister, Jamie, and then
People with 7 fingers were amazed because she was 9 months coming. 9 months after we got married, yeah.
and then I came obviously about 3 years later.
Yeah.
And my dad served in the military, and so you were a military wife, and he was obviously gone a lot. He was there when my sister Jamie was born. Correct?
Nope.
Oh, he
was in Vietnam.
Oh, Vietnam.
He was in Vietnam when she was born. Yeah, he left in October for Vietnam when she was born in December. So the first time he saw her, she was 10 months old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The sacrifice.
Yep.
Then there was me. Yeah. Would you share with them a little bit about my birth?
Yes. I went in to have you. I was 19 years old, and they checked me and they said, no, you need to go in or go home and walk because you're not ready to have her yet. And so I was getting dressed when the nurse come tearing in and said, you didn't tell me this was your second child. I didn't know I needed to. So they did admit me. And that was about 10:30 in the morning. I had you at 12:57.
Wow.
So it was a good thing I didn't go home and walk. But being a second child, you came a little faster. And
I'm always in a hurry.
yeah, well, isn't that the God's truth? So your dad talked to the nurses and the doctor into letting him be in the delivery room when I delivered you, because he'd missed so much of Jamie. He wanted to be take in everything that he could with you. And even though he hadn't any training, any classes or anything, he convinced him that, you know, he'd done this in Vietnam and he knew what he was doing. He hadn't. And so they let him come in. And when you were born, they whisked you away quickly. They took one look and you were like gone. And I didn't understand because I had made arrangements to breastfeed you on the table. And that was supposed to help, you know, with the afterbirth and so on. And so I didn't understand why they took you away. And anyway, they finished up with me what they needed to do. And your dad left to go check on you. And they took me to my room, and eventually they came to me and they said, would you like to see her? And I said, I would. And so they garbed me in that green papery stuff. I had it on my hair. I had gloves. I had a gown on. I had those things on my feet. I was garbed all in green. And I walked into this NICU with all these little 2 and 3 pound, these little preemie babies. And there was 8-pound you laying in this incubator. You look like so out of place. You look like a dinosaur inside that incubator. And you were so cute. And they took me over to you and you were perfect. You were so sweet. And I said, why have you got her in here? I mean, they showed me your feet, but
yeah,
you know, to me, you were perfect. And she said, well, usually with one birth defect, other birth defects follow. That's an exact quote.
Mhm.
So I now am nervous, but they won't let me have you. They ushered me back to my room and they took you off to run further tests to see if there were any other birth defects that were more detrimental than just your feet. And they released me from the hospital early when nothing was detrimental, but we needed to figure out what had happened to your feet. To go to the birth defect clinic in Louisville, Kentucky, to see Dr. Dino was his name. And that started a myriad of many birth defect clinics, many hospitals, many doctors.
And so I had, the technical term is elephantitis of the forefeet, correct?
Right.
And then I had an itch scratch syndrome on the skin.
Right.
Are those the only two things that came from what we will talk about, how we got these birth defects?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what was amazing though was it was such a God thing. When you're an embryo, your skin, bone, and brain cells. That's all you are as an embryo. And the Agent Orange affected your skin and your bone, but didn't affect your brain.
So we had to deal with that. And gosh, I don't know which direction I want to go. I think because I know, and you can go into detail more about this, you finally figured out, because you obviously didn't know where these birth defects came from. It wasn't something that ran in the family. Your pregnancy was just fine, so you didn't know where these birth defects came from. And so it was many years until you found out. Let's talk about kind of before we talk about what caused it, the journey from me being born until, I guess about 5 years of age, the doctors, the surgeries, the choices.
So hard.
Yeah.
We did go see, after Dr. Dino, a doctor called Dr. Harkus. And
I remember all those names.
oh, it was, yeah. And then ask me your name tomorrow.
Your favorite child.
Yeah, oh, that's right. And he said that you were going to have, after many doctors telling us that you were going to have both feet amputated, he told us the same thing. We went on such a journey to so many, the Army released us to the economy. So we were not only going to Army and military facilities, but also to Shriners and birth defect clinics all over the East Coast there. You were born in Fort Knox, Kentucky. So we were all over the East Coast. But anyway, Dr. Harkus was one of the last. Well, no, he was the last that we saw. And we weren't amputating your feet, period. That was a decision we had made. And he said, yes, your feet were going to have to be amputated. And furthermore, he was not going to be the one to do it because he didn't like to work with parents like us, that we were belligerent, and parents like a child with leukemia going from doctor to doctor to doctor, trying to get the diagnosis that we want. We're not going to get the diagnosis that we want. You will have to have your feet amputated, but he wouldn't do it. So we walked out of there and I looked at your dad and I said, are we wrong? Are we wrong? I mean, he's the doctor. We don't have the medical degree. And your dad said, nope, we are not wrong. We are not amputating our feet. So we went back to the doctors there at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and said, we've diminished everything around here. Is there any place else that we can go that can deal with her, that know her condition and will know what to do without just saying, let's get rid of the problem? And they said, well, we continue to Fitzsimmons, our medical facility in Colorado, or we continue to Walter Reed Medical Facility in Washington, D.C. Which one would you like to go to? And I said, send me to the one most qualified to handle her and what's going on with her body. So they called and they found a doctor in Walter Reed that had handled a case much like Missy's in Hong Kong, believe it or not. And they thought that he would be able to help Missy Well, I was there 6 weeks the first time that she went to Walter Reed, and the doctors were bumfuzzled. They didn't know. But what they found out is that it wasn't neurological, and the doctors that I was seeing and the doctor they sent me to was neurology. They found out that it was orthopedic. And what I needed to be seeing and who really needed to be dealing with me was orthopedic doctors, because there was nothing genetic that had happened to you. It was, we did all the background on that, and that would be the neurological part of it. So we started seeing a orthopedic surgeon, and they decided to get a specialist from Baltimore. I can't think of the hospital's name now, and bring him in to oversee a surgery with you. And then there would be 2 doctors from Walter Reed, one on each foot. And you were only 6 months old, but they were going to start whittling away at your feet, because one of the important things that I didn't say was your feet grew abnormally during pregnancy, and the abnormal growth didn't stop after pregnancy. And that's why later on they determined it was Agent Orange. It was a chemical that was causing this abnormal growth. And so they were going to whittle away at her feet and tamper with growth plates in her feet to see if they could stop the abnormal growth. And so she came out of surgery the first time with 3 toes on both feet. And they took 2 rays out of her left foot and broke and angled the other 3 to bring in the width of her foot. And then in her right foot, they only took 1 ray out. But I don't think they broke it. No, they didn't break and angle those to bring in the width of that foot. And so they watched, and then they found out that the middle toe on her left foot was still growing abnormally. So they went in and amputated that. So now you only have 2 toes left on that feet. And then they noticed that the little toe on your right foot, the abnormal growth was still happening. So they amputated 2/3 of your little toe. They went clear back to the back knuckle. And
You must have been big then.
yeah, because it's big now. It is. One small point, and I don't. But Melissa's toes at birth were bigger than mine at birth. So, and the abnormal growth wasn't stopping. So we knew we had to do something for her, but we weren't willing to amputate. But the decision with that first surgery, we got it all set up. Everything was a go. They brought in the doctor from Baltimore, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what if she wanted to keep those toes? Who am I to sign away those toes for her? What if she grows up and hates me because I allowed them to whittle away a part of her body that she didn't have a choice on whether it was going to be taken away or not? Good Lord. I worried so much, you could have cared less. But it's such a worry, you just don't know. Your personality was that. You could have been the personality that you hated me, but you didn't have it in you to do it. And so it was hard. It was a
How
long
many surgeries on the feet?
well, you always say, every time I say how many you had on your feet, you always say it's less. But you had a whole lot of surgery. So I just add everything together, and everything all added together with your underarm was 21.
Oh,
I see you always do that.
mental block.
Yeah.
Mental block. All right. So what was the doctor's prognosis though? So, they whittled away and they were able to keep my feet, which
They said you would never run, hop, skip, or jump, that it would be too hard for you to do that, that it would be painful that for you to do that you would be able to walk, but it would be, a slow shuffle, and it wouldn't be for long distances. But never run, hop, skip, or jump. I know. She never walked. All she did was run, hop, skip, and jump.
So you want to share with them the first time I did take a step?
Oh my goodness. We lived in quarters in Fort Knox, Kentucky, And when you walked in the front door, there were steps that went upstairs, or you could turn, you went into the living room, which went into the dining room. Then you turned and the kitchen, which was behind the stairs. And then the laundry room was underneath the stairs. And so I had left your sister to watch you because you were a little devil and make sure you didn't get into anything while I got some laundry out of the dryer. And you were getting ready to crawl up the stairs. And Jamie couldn't get you to not go up those stairs. So she yelled at me, Mom, she's going. So I yelled, of course, you're on the stairs, so I'm right behind you. Missy, you get down those stairs right now. If I have to come in there, you're going to be sorry. So you got down off the stairs. You walked from the foyer all the way into the living room, all the way through the living room, all the way through the dining room, all the way through the kitchen, into the laundry room. And that was your first step. We didn't expect you to walk. There was no expectation of walking from you.
Mhm.
So we just never encouraged it like most parents do.
And how old was it?
About 18 months. You were 17
Oh, wow.
months. Yeah. And
Oh, I get this story wrong.
yeah, I know. How old did you say you were?
14.
Oh,
Well-
well, that's pretty close. We had bought you all kinds of setting things, and so you wouldn't be bored. You had all these fun things because we knew you wouldn't be able to be mobile. And oh, wow. So when you could probably walk all along. We just didn't know it. You were planting yourself and doing on those what are those play things, that just saucer type things. And so when you were standing because you pushed up from the steps, you were ready to go.
And when I walked those steps, was I in casts or was I without casts?
Without casts.
Okay.
Yes.
I was in casts.
Yeah.
That's why this is important.
Yeah.
And so you say from that point on, you were never able to hold me down.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
No.
It was hard. And, you want your kid to be normal. But the thing that they told me was, and I believed them, is that if I allowed her to do the things that she shouldn't do, the impact of her feet, because she only had 3 rays and those were broken and angled in one foot, and the other foot was just, it was the 4 rays, that the impact, she would eventually end up in a wheelchair at the age of 40. So, and so even when she was in middle school, when she went into PE, I was a mom that went in there and said, she can't do PE. And they said, but she has to. It's a presidential thing, it's not, it's a national thing. It's not about each junior high thing or a county thing or a state thing. It's a national mandate. So what they did was they allowed Missy to do the easy things that, do they know you're Missy to me?
Oh, yeah. No, they don't have no clue.
They're learning.
Yes.
Okay. They allowed Missy to do the easy things that didn't have a lot of impact on her feet. But when they did, like track and field, they would send her into the library and have her write a paper on track and field. And I didn't even like that. Why in the heck did they do that? And they punished you. So, and then instead of taking showers back then, you had to take a shower after PE. Instead of taking the shower with the rest of the girls, you were allowed to use the PE shower, teacher's shower, and which said you were different, but they didn't see that you were different. They just knew you were different and didn't know how. Unless you shared it, which you were very, 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 very well adept at hiding your feet.
Yes, I got very good at it.
Yes.
As best as I could.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to jump back really fast before we move forward. And I believe that you say that Daddy never knew. Daddy passed away when right before I turned 6 years old, active duty helicopter crash. But he didn't know that they finally had come to the conclusion that it was his time in Vietnam and his exposure to Agent Orange that caused the birth defects in my feet. And so what I want you to share with the audience, because I talk about this a lot, is he was in Vietnam before my sister was born. And my sister was born just fine, but she was fine. She didn't have the birth defects that I did. But then ironically, 3 years later, long time after him being exposed to the Agent Orange, it had affected me. So you want to share? Yeah, share that.
Yeah. Well, the Agent Orange, you breathe it in, you bring it in through your skin, and it just lays dormant. It's in, and it goes into your fatty tissues, and it just,
As all toxins do.
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Before they
And so it was sitting there dormant. In the meantime, her dad had decided to become a helicopter pilot. And in the military, when you fly, you can only be a certain weight. After a certain weight, they put you on the fat boy program. And your dad was getting very close to that weight. And he didn't want to be humiliated by being on the fat boy program. So he decided to lose weight. Well, that's about the time that I decided to get pregnant with you.
I'll check for what?
Yeah. So the Agent Orange was released into his fatty tissue or into his system while he was losing weight. And it's one of the very few instances where a man causes a birth defect in the fetus. There aren't very many. It's usually the woman, but this is one of the very few, which I was kind of sort of glad that he never knew for sure, but he died knowing. He knew. We
Getting there.
we were getting there. Yeah.
So Agent Orange, and as far as I know right now, there is a class action lawsuit on all of that. That's
Still. Dr. Yannicone did the Love Canal toxins and that lawsuit, and so it was very well known and very popular. And so when the kids started being born with Agent Orange incidences, I met a little girl when we were at Walter Reed who had the Agent Orange in her hand. No, it was her hands. It was both of her hands because for some reason the Agent Orange goes to the extremities, and her hands were just, and they didn't want to whittle away with her hands. They really wanted to try to save them. They were webbed. They were huge. They were great big nubs between the skin folds there. And it was, and her name was Diana. And I'd like to really know how she came out. But I just right then and there, I was just so thankful that Melissa's was in her feet, because I knew eventually we could put her in a pair of shoes and people would never see it. But how was she going to hide her little hands? But anyway, Dr. Yannicone, and I'm sure that he's not alive to this day, but with the veterans fighting for Agent Orange benefits and for Agent Orange, for the government to take care of anything that's Agent Orange that happens to them in their system, how are the children ever going to? And I told our politician up in Washington State, I don't want their money. Don't insult me by offering me money. Fix anything with her, Agent Orange related. Don't make the insurance companies or her and her husband be responsible for that. Anything that's Agent Orange related with her, and nothing.
And we've talked about this, and she's been here in Mexico with me about, she looks at my feet and she goes, you need to have them fix your feet, because they could use a tune up, to say the least. But
with the abuse from the constant.
let's go there. So I was a little ornery, and I hated being told no, and I hated being, so sedentary. And so I wasn't able to play sports in school and all of that. And my mom did the best she could. I know that. I mean, as a parent with that, in that situation, I think I would be the exact same way. So you want to share a little bit how hard it was to raise a very active child that wasn't supposed to be active. Some of the incidences that happened of me growing up, especially with Papa.
Yeah. My dad was very soft when it came to Missy, very, very soft. And in Washington State, in Spokane, they have a 7-mile run. It's called Bloomsday. And people compete from all across the world. I mean, we have, usually it's Kenyans that win the Bloomsday race. So people come from all over the world, and they've got all classes, and you tell them how fast you can run a mile, and they assign you a color, and they give you a place where you start. And Missy and my dad were purple, and that was the walkers. Because she wanted to run Bloomsday so bad that my dad went against my best wishes. I was a single parent because her dad died when she was 5, and decided he was going to sign her up and take her and do Bloomsday. And he did. And I wouldn't even go. I couldn't even, I was so mad. And she took off, and she was going to run that Bloomsday. She was going to do it, do or die. And I don't know if she did it to prove to herself that she could, or to do it because I told her she couldn't do it. And at the end, when she got at the finish line, there was my mother, proud as punch, to see her run the race and do something that she so desperately wanted to do, and that it was her grandfather that ran across in fact, she stopped. You stopped and waited because he was a little bit behind you so that you two could walk through together. And she got her t-shirt, and it was not easy raising a child that was not, didn't want to be sedentary, and I didn't want her in a wheelchair. And I think that hindsight's, 2020, I think if I had it to do all over again, I'll probably have been just as hard because that's all I knew. Yeah. That's all I knew, is that I wanted you to grow up and live as close to a normal life as you could. Mm-hmm. And being in a wheelchair was not in that wheelhouse for me.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that my new book, Mastering Immune Health, is out. Now, I have to tell you, of all of the ebooks that I have written, this one has the most love in it because I cannot stress the importance of having a strong immunity, especially this day and age. Now, you could have a nice low body fat, you could have beautiful muscles, but if you're laying in bed not feeling well, then who cares? So if we really work on mastering our immune health, everything else falls into place. And what you're going to learn into this book is that if you do the things to master your immunity, it's also going to help you look and feel your best. So they all kind of go together. And this is a girthy book. We're talking 85 pages for right now, for a sale price of $15. I'm literally giving it away because your immune health is so important to me. Not only that, there's a quiz in there for you to take so you can see where you're starting. And then once you practice these skills for a while, you're going to be able to take it again and see that you're improving. We have action steps in there. Some of you don't care about all the details, and I understand that. So there's just quick action steps for you to take if you just want to go there and say, okay, this is what I need to do for each chapter, because I give you a lot of chapters of all the different things that you can do. You don't have to do them all, but if you pick some that you're like, okay, I'm kind of like not really excelling in this area, then you're going to have some great action steps to help you build that strong immune system for you, your family, your loved ones, people you work with. Share the knowledge. And then last but not least, finally, everybody's like, can you help me with meal prep? Okay. A big chunk of this book is meal prepping. It's a bonus for you to help you create this healthy meal planning that you can put together very easily, very simply, very nutritious. That's not only going to help you build that immunity, but also help you feed the body and make the body strong. So go get your copy right now. It's available for you. And please let me know once you get it and what you think. And always know that I'm here to help you get through it. All of those 18 years, from 18 months to 18 years, quite literally, finding shoes to fit me because they're a little odd shaped. We'll just say that. Still to this day, my good friend Roseanne, I love you. She was the first person that she sent me lot of you guys will comment on my cute shoes. It's called Torrid, and it's for plus size women, and they have very wide width shoes, and they're adorable. They're the first shoes that I've ever been able to fit in comfortably that were trendy. And so, you know, for the last, 10 years, I've been able to have trendy shoes, but up until that point, we certainly tried. But I know I can't remember the name of the special shoe store when I was little that you would, and I would have to wear it.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were ugly.
yeah, it was very hard for me to hide my feet young because my shoes looked different than everybody else's. And then I remember for those of you that are as old as me, those jelly shoes that were clear and they were holey. And I wanted to wear those so bad, and I would wear them with socks.
Yeah.
And you could tell there was something going on, but I just really wanted to be like the rest of the kids. And then there was the incidents of going to Nordstrom, and our first time learning that Nordstrom had a wide width shoe. And at that time, I could slip my feet into the shoes, and every shoe I tried on that fit, she bought. I mean, she had to literally finance all of those shoes. We're talking Nordstrom. And then we brought them home, and I couldn't wear them for more than 20 or 30 minutes before they would really started hurting. So they weren't a shoe that I could really wear out and about, but it's been quite the journey when it comes to shoes.
And we would always have to buy 2 pairs because you were 2 sizes. And we found a company down in Colorado that if you sent your odd shoe down there, they would try to match you with someone wherever, and so that you could start trading shoes. And we never found that person, but we did send your odd shoes down there, and they also used them for children that you know, had a leg or something amputated and only needed 1 shoe. So they were used, but I did donate them.
Fast forward to 18 years old, and I graduated. And well, when I was 16, I met this boy named Carl. So you're going to hear Missy and Carl, because that's what my mom still called Mick, is Carl. And met Carl, and we kind of, like my mom and dad, very young, fell in love, knew we were supposed to be together. And Mick went to Arizona to go to Motorcycle Mechanics Institute. And he was 2 years older than me. So there was this relationship between Mick and I, and they were such great parents, very accommodating. But I eventually graduated high school and decided I wanted to go to Arizona with Mick. He really liked it there and sounded exciting to me. So we went there and started off at Mesa Community College, same with Mick. And that's when I decided I wanted to be an aerobics instructor.
I know. All because you told that you couldn't.
Yeah. Because I mean, you know, you get away from your parents who are trying to do best by you. But as soon as I got, you know, out of the house, I started going to the gym, and I wanted to be a registered dietitian. And so I was taking my nutrition courses, and just loved the gym, and started taking these aerobics classes, falling in love, deciding I wanted to teach aerobics at that time. And my poor mom. If running Bloomsday near 8 miles didn't kill her, it was me deciding to make a career out of high impact aerobics from that point on. So I've given my mom plenty of reasons to have
high anxiety.
Yes. Heart palpitations for all of her life. But you know, they genuinely hung in there pretty good. People always ask me if they hurt, and I just have to say I don't know.
Because you have a high tolerance for pain.
I live with mixed.
Yeah, you do.
It's painful.
Yeah. So you've always had a very high tolerance for pain, and the doctors would tell me to be careful with you and to watch you, because you could be hurt really bad and you wouldn't respond to it normally.
Yeah. True. So anyway, they're truly hanging in there. I went to a doctor, gosh, I don't know, about 10 years ago, I would say. It's just a guess, to look into them, because there's stuff that can be done that would make me fit better in shoes, which would obviously make it less painful to walk when I do wear shoes. And he told me it would, I would have to stay off my feet for about 6 months for them to heal. And I was like, nope,
Yeah, she wouldn't do it.
nope. So just a couple days ago, we're sitting out in the sun. And my mom's like, okay, you're not teaching anymore. You want to go get that done now? I don't know. I'm like, I can't walk this beach. I can't work out. It's such a, I don't know.
6 months is hard to give up.
Yeah, very hard to give up.
Well, look at Carl with his foot.
Yes. I like mine have no pain whatsoever compared to what he's gone through lately. So kind of going outside of, actually, before I completely get out of you as a tremendous parent, I want to share a little bit about the itch scratch syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
That I had. You're going to describe it so much better than me, because you know how they say you have these blocks. I just remember one time it being so, because I mean, I would just, and I remember making it bleed and sleeping in a very crummy bed. I don't know how else to say it. But that's my only memory, and getting the cast taken off.
Oh, yeah. When you were born, you had what they called a cafe au lait, which was a birth defect that was of mold content, they said. That was a snake that went down your left arm, right? Right arm. Okay, a snake that went down your right arm, went around your right breast. You had patches all the way down your back to your butt crack. And they were cafe au lait, they were coffee colored in color. And so they were much darker than your skin. And what it turned out to be was due to the overgrowth of bone in your feet. There were bone cells, extra bone cells, and they all got together and collected. And this was what was forming the birth defect. And the bone cells were not compatible with the skin cells. And because they weren't compatible, they developed this itch scratch syndrome. So that the more she itched, the more she scratched, the more she itched, the more she scratched. And it being a mold content, it had a crust on it. And she was talking about.
Are you saying MOLE or MOLD?
MOLE.
Okay.
Mold. It's Southern. You had, there were these crumbs, and you would, there would be, when I go to get you up in the morning for school, blood all over the walls, all over the sheets, all over the bed, all over you. It was a mess. So I took you to the hospital and told them, that is there anything that we could do for this? And they tried topical and it didn't work. They tried you taking in medicine to stop the itch scratch. And I worried then, because I thought, if it's going to stop the itch scratch here inside you, what's it doing to your kidneys and your liver and your brain? And I hated giving you that medicine. Yeah. I couldn't stand it, but it didn't work. So they said there was a forum that was set up with all these skin doctors, and these rare cases of people were brought in, and all the doctors looked at that person, and then they got together in a conference later and discussed and decided what needed to be done. And Missy was invited to that, and which was a deaconess in Spokane, Washington. And she, they looked at her and they said, it has to come off. There's nothing that, and she can't continue the itch scratch. That's not going to work either. So she went into the hospital. They took it off. They grafted skin from her derriere and put it up there. And she had 150 staples. And they got rid of most the part of the birth defect that was causing the most itch scratch. So she was in there for 10 days. And she came home. This is my wild child. She came home and she went to pick up a blanket to lay on the couch with it. And I don't know if her sister had it first or not, but she said she did. And her sister grabbed it and they were doing a tug of war back and forth. And I yelled at her sister, turn loose of that blanket. Well, when she did, Missy went flat back and tore out a bunch of stitches. And just really, it was an ugly, ugly, ugly scar. And that she was in the hospital 10 days. And then she came home. So it was too late after surgery for them to be able to stitch or do anything to fix it. So she just had to live with that really ugly scar for the rest of her life.
Don't skip over the part about what a good kid I was, because what did I do?
You thanked the doctor. He came in. I mean, that doctor went out in the hallway. My mother watched him. It's not me telling a story. My mother watched him go out in the hallway and cry after she thanked him for doing the surgery and getting rid of that itch scratch.
How old was I?
You were 8?
Yes, that's what I think.
Yes, we were 8.
If I get the story right.
Yes. And then you went to the doctor to get the staples out.
How long? I was in a cast like this.
Oh, you were in a cast.
In the summer.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's actually really comfortable. It's like muscle memory. And can you imagine trying to sleep any way, shape, or form with a hard cast like this?
And they worried about scoliosis because when you do that, they worry about your spine curving. So they watched your spine to make sure that you didn't get scoliosis as a result of that. And then afterwards, they put you in a
Job's garment.
Job's garment. Yeah, they ordered it, and it was from here, the vest, the coat, all the way up to here and down to your waist, and zipped. And then you had the pants that came up. They were a little, for the scar tissue, so that the Job's garment would act as a second skin against your skin. It was so tight.
Like, I mean, the tightest
girdle. Yeah. So it would act and would not, she wouldn't scar as bad as if she hadn't have worn it. But it was and she hated it. And so it was really hard to get her in it and get her to wear it. So, and I wasn't having to wear it, and I felt bad. I knew that if it was me, I would have chucked it. So, but she didn't have a choice.
You were strict.
I made you wear it.
You were strict.
Yeah.
So I had to get him out.
You went to the doctor, and it was time to get the staples out. And he went to get the pliers, and he started pulling them. And Missy said, my mother had taken her. I was a teacher at the time and couldn't get away from school. So my mother took her to the hospital. And she said, can I do that? And he said, sure. She sat there and watched Missy with her arm up and those pliers pulling out those staples. Like I told you, she doesn't have a very, she has a high tolerance for pain. So she pulled out most of her staples that she could reach. So there were over 150.
Some were stubborn. I do remember that.
Do you?
I do remember that. Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So that was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
After the staples were out and I was given the okay to try to stretch the skin, they would have me walk up to a wall. I don't know if there are any more exercises, but I distinctly remember having to put my elbow on the wall and then work my way up. And literally this is as far as I can go. It's tight again. But they wanted me to be able to, press to get it straight up and down. I don't know if I ever got there, but
no,
that wasn't fun to stretch that skin out.
Yeah. But in all honesty, I don't think you put your whole heart into it. I mean, I could make you do it, but I couldn't make you put your heart in it.
Right.
And you didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
You didn't see the importance at the time.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder if you see the importance now.
Every year, I promise myself I'm going to get more flexible and I'm going to work on that stuff. And I never do. So there's my kryptonite, my flexibility. just
Mhm.
don't want to do it. Okay, so that's me in a nutshell when it comes to this woman having to raise. And yeah, we could go on and on about all of, I mean, the helicopter rides, the car rides, the traveling, because you had to be with me through all of these surgeries.
I had to go to Walter Reed with you.
And my sister was, left with my grandparents most of the time.
Mhm.
And then when my dad passed away, we moved from West Virginia up to Washington State, and my mom decided to go back to school, and she got her master's degree as a special education teacher. Graduated summa cum laude, because she's the shit. Yeah. Very smart, very smart. And then worked with the severely handicapped for how many years?
11.
For 11 years.
Mhm.
And then decided to get really active in church. And instead of doing that, because the school system had changed, and if I recall, you had really hated that they wanted to mainstream all of your kids.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for you because you didn't believe they should be in the mainstream.
That just, there's a whole lot of a big study there.
Yeah. Understandable. So got big into church and became church secretary for a really long time. And at the age of 14, she met my stepdad, Pete, who's here, but him and Mick are out gallivanting.
I wasn't 14.
Oh, I was 14. You might as well have been. You're 14, yeah. And he, best stepdad you could ever ask for. I was a little bit rebellious in the beginning, of course, as you can imagine, but just love him to death. And have lived.
And you have a brother.
I have oh, geez.
Yeah.
Tristan. You guys know I brag about him all the time. If you follow me on social media, him and his photography skills when it comes to his cars. Love him to pieces too. But as I close this off, what has it been like? I guess just seeing me as an adult. I went to college. I had Tanner very young, then had Taylor very soon after. We said sayonara and we moved to Hawaii and left you behind, which did not make you a happy grandma. Started my, at the time, Beachbody business
and grew into a beautiful lady that has more knowledge about all that's nutritious and healthy and beneficial than I have in my little fingernail. And much to your chagrin, I don't follow what you teach as well as you would have me follow what you teach. It's like Jesus. Jesus couldn't get his family to believe that he was the Son of God, and you can't get your family to believe that you know what you're saying. But it was hard turning you loose. But Carl has been fabulous. You two really mesh, and you were the best parents in the whole wide world. I remember when she started teaching, especially with Shalene, I would watch. I didn't do the exercises, but I would watch the DVDs, and I would watch.
I used to send them to you.
Yeah,
I know.
I still have them. I have a drawer full of all your stuff, and so it was with great pride that I watched it. It was also with great trepidation, because I still held in my heart that she was eventually going to do something that would make her not be mobile or as mobile. Well, it never happened. She's going to be pretty old here real soon. And so if it hasn't happened yet, it's not going to happen. So, but she still is stubborn to do what needs to be done. And not only in your exercise and in your knowledge, but you're stubborn to be loyal to your family and to your kids. and to the people that you invest yourself into. You're a very compassionate person that would give her right kidney if she could. I'm serious. If somebody needed a right kidney, she would give it. She would. Her grandfather was a animal lover extraordinaire. He had polio when he was little, and all he could do was bat his eyes. And he had a dog that was given to him, and it's all he ever talked about was that dog. He loved dogs, and we always had dogs growing up. And I always had dogs for her when she was growing up, and a couple of cats. And she has followed through with those same animal loving traits. She just takes it a little bit further because she can, and she supplements for sanctuaries, and she does everything she can to donate. I walk through middle of town, and there's cows, for crying out loud, and she wants to go up and pet me. I'm just so proud of her.
You talking there for a second, I went back to you saying that I would do anything for the people that I love, which is true. And for some reason, Lauren, Dr. Lauren, you guys know her, she's been on the podcast a couple of times at this point, a good friend of mine. And you know, you have a good friend when they send you a gift that is so special. And this might turn me up. She sent me a Louisville Slugger.
Oh,
because she had once heard about the story of my dad. And so I'd like to close this with you sharing the story of my stubbornness and, you know, the right to defend. And because I had a wonderful dad.
yes, you did. Jim was dedicated in the military. He was he became regular Army, RA. He was going to make Army his career. He truly believed in what he did. He loved our country. He believed in our country. Was one of the most patriotic people I'd ever want to know. And
what award did he, or Medal of Honor did he get?
Meritorious Service Award, I believe it was. I can't remember. You asked me too fast. And I am getting old. It wasn't Meritorious Service. It was the one above that. But anyway, Missy, you know, continued as stubborn as he was in the military, and his love for what he did. Missy has that inside of her, that loyalty, that love, that it's rare and not in a whole lot of people. And you guys are lucky to have her. She's a rare gem, and I'm proud to say that I'm her mother. I really paid off for her because her stubbornness is what has got her where she is today.
What about so they don't leave them hanging, the baseball bat, the Louisville Slugger?
You're going to have to tell that.
When I came running home because kids.
Oh, yes. Well, and Carl was so sweet the other day. He said, instead of calling you Missy Toes, they should call you
Finding Toes?
Finding Toes. Yeah, because he says instead of missing 5 toes, you found 5. But anyway, when she was little, yeah, the kids would tease her and make fun of her, and she would run home and would just be torn apart. And her dad one time gave her a baseball bat and told her to go take care of it. He doesn't.
People can be so mean.
Yes.
Thank you for all of that. Is there anything that you would love to, any advice, humbly, I know it's hard for you to give advice, any advice you can give to new moms with children, a child with birth defects or a handicap, you know, whether it's raising me or working in the special education department for as long as you did, just anything that you can share that might help them out in the future.
Yes. You would not have your feet. Had we have listened to those early doctors, you would have been a double amputee, and you would have artificial feet. Be there for your kids. Speak up for your kids. Don't feel like that you're not, they're not going to listen to you, or that you do it. You stand up for your kids and until the cows come home, because it's the person that speaks up the loudest that gets taken care of. I'm telling you, I watched it as a teacher, and I know it as a mother because I would speak up for her. It's those people that speak up the loudest and the longest that the district will actually change things for you and do things for your child. Don't sit and wish, or don't sit and think if only things were different. Make a difference. Don't wish for it.
Great advice. And one thing that you always said, and I think it was more so when I had gotten past, gotten a little bit more confident in myself, but you've been working with your special education classroom, that, and it could have been me, but I just remember once it was me or somebody else said, I feel so sorry for them.
Oh, no.
And you were like,
nope. No. They taught me way more than I could ever teach them. All children have a specialness about them that makes that will endear them to you, and concentrate and be positive and be affirming to everything that child can give. And there's not a child out there that doesn't have something to give you.
So don't,
even if it's lip.
Right. never feel sorry for them.
No. And they wouldn't have you do it anyway. You wouldn't have had it. No.
No.
And they know it when you do. They know it. So yeah. Always smile and be affirming and positive in every way that you can.
Well, thank you.
I love you.
I love you too. That wasn't so bad, was it? Do we look alike?
Not really.
Yeah, we do.
Sometimes.
Anyway, I really appreciate you doing this. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's something for me to keep forever. It's like Mick and I always have arguments because he's anti social media so much, and it's my career. And I'm always asking him, can you please just take candid pictures here and there? And it's not just for social media. Sometimes it's just for a memory, to look back and to see, a picture of me petting a giraffe, for me, helping out a stray dog, anything. So I can look back on that picture, and it's with us, always will be. I'm still working on training it, but this video will be the same thing for me. So I really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for wanting to hear from her.
Yeah.
I know she's flabbergasted, like, I don't get it, but it was overwhelming. And so I delivered. And I hope this will be the 100th episode, like my podcast team has suggested that it would be. So I don't think you listen to my podcast, but I have a sign off. It's always, I want you to wake up feeling prepared, and I want you to go to bed feeling proud.
You do that.
Thank you guys. Have a great day. Love you.
Love you more.
Wow, we've reached the end. But before I leave you, I'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to me, your opinion does matter. So please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Melissa McAllister. And until next time, thank you for being your own health advocate.